Hello everyone, my name is Dylan and welcome to a brand new video. If you are new here, hi there, I post fun and entertaining English lessons every single Friday. So today I'm going to be showing you some more real everyday British English. Yes, in fact British English doesn't get any realer than this, because in today's video I'm going to be giving you a full guide to the UK, a full guide. That is crazy. That is actually crazy. So this should be pretty good for anyone who is interested in what the UK is actually like, and of course for anyone who is planning on visiting here as well. I'm going to be covering a wide range of topics, including the people, the food, the transport, the shops, the culture, British humour, expressions, practical tips, what to bring, what not to bring, special events / holidays, and much more. So this video will not only be good for helping you to improve your listening, reading and pronunciation skills, but as always, I'm also going to be teaching you some of the everyday expressions and vocabulary that I used whilst I was rambling on. So, if you see something pop up on the screen, that means that it will be explained at the end of the video in a free PDF. The link is in the top comment. You don't need to sign up to anything. Just hit the link and press download. I will also include the full transcript from today's video, which you can see right here, and it just means that you can read along with me. Finally, if you would like to listen on the go, why not follow my Spotify? The link is in the top comment and I post weekly videos there as well. Right guys, let's do this. Very quickly before we get started, I also teach private one-to-one lessons online. So if you wish to improve your British English listening, speaking, accent or vocabulary in a fun, unique and interactive way, you can do so with my personal and private support. I also teach small group classes every single Sunday and the link is in the top comment. Finally, I have recently started a free newsletter which you can sign up to receive exclusive videos and learning resources. The link is in the top comment and yeah, as soon as you sign up, I will send you an exclusive video right to your inbox and it's actually a good video as well, so why not? Right guys, thank you for listening and enjoy the video. So I guess I should start by thanking you all for showing some sort of interest in visiting the UK. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Now then, let's start by answering a crucial question. What is the most important thing about a country? You know, what makes a country good? Is it the buildings? Maybe. I mean, we do have some nice buildings, maybe. Is it the weather? Well, maybe, but you probably wouldn't be visiting the UK if it was. Is it the food? Well, maybe, but you probably wouldn't be visiting the UK if it was. So what is it, Dylan? Well, in my opinion, I think that the most important part of any country is the people, right? I mean, the weather and food are important too. I just wanted to make a little funny joke to kick things off. Nice. Right, so first topic, people in the UK. Before I tell you about the social etiquette in the UK, the first thing you need to know is that, believe it or not, but British people are actually really nice. Yeah, it's true. Well, most of us are anyway. However, as I'm sure you have heard many times before, we are pretty reserved. You know, we keep ourselves to ourselves. And this might sound like a good thing to some of you, but I just don't want you to confuse our reserve for unfriendliness, because honestly, that is not the case. If you do need help with anything, or even just want to come up and speak to one of us, most of the time, I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised with how warm and receptive we actually are, even though it might not look that way. Of course, you know, use your judgment of whom to approach and whom not to approach, and just say something like, excuse me, insert whatever you want to say. So, excuse me, do you know where the train station is? Excuse me, do you know where the closest pub is? Excuse me, I love your blue shirt. Do you reckon I could get your number? That type of thing. So the thing to remember is that it is very important that you start your approach with excuse me, because that is just how we do it in the UK. And if you don't start by saying, excuse me, well, we might become startled and start running straight to the immigration office to report you. I'm joking, don't worry. So the next thing you need to know is that unfortunately, people in the UK don't really tend to speak any other languages, It's pretty rare, to be honest. I mean, obviously, 제 한국어는 완벽해요, 하지만 I am, of course, an exception. So yeah, that's just something else to bear in mind. But if that does all sound a bit intimidating, this weird, unfriendly country full of people who are speaking a completely different language, don't worry, because the final thing I wanted to say is that the UK is pretty diverse. And this is especially true for big cities such as Manchester, Oxford, Bristol, Edinburgh and Cardiff, where you can expect to meet people from all around the world who will probably speak your language. And this is Edinburgh, by the way. Beautiful place, beautiful place. There is also another small place that's quite diverse in the UK. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called London. Yeah, I think I did see a foreign person in London once. I think so anyway. Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on the social etiquette side of things because, of course, this is very important. As mentioned, we are polite. Excessively polite. So throughout this whole section, please don't think that I'm assuming that you guys don't know basic manners. Of course you do. I'm just telling you what it's like in the UK, right? So therefore, when you're here, if you ask for anything, obviously make sure to say please. If you get anything, make sure to say thank you or cheers. And finally, if you cause anyone even the slightest, tiniest little smidgen of inconvenience, you better say sorry. I mean, nothing will happen if you don't, but we just love saying sorry like all the time, like way too much. So say you're in a supermarket and you have to walk past someone and ever so slightly invade their personal space. You will say sorry. Or if you block someone's path for like 5 seconds whilst you decide on what sandwich to get in your meal deal, you will say sorry. Right, and I'm going to give you a live example here, so I'm just going to get my pen out. Here we go. Right, so imagine you are in a supermarket in the UK, and this is you. All right, so you got your big smile on, kind of. You got your bottle of water, and you got your sandwich here from your meal deal. Cool. Right, so basically you need to get to here because this is where you pay. So you need to work your way through here. However, unfortunately, there is someone in the way, and he's talking to his kid. Well, I hope that's his kid. Anyway. Right, so how are you going to get past? Are you just going to barge past and say, move, I need to pay for my stuff? Of course not. Of course you're not going to do that. You're going to stand here for about 5 seconds looking a bit awkward, and then you're going to very quietly and politely say, sorry, excuse me, sorry. Then he will immediately look up and say, oh, sorry. And then he'll move over here. And then at this point, you might just say sorry again, just to apologize for him having to move out of your way. Right, so then you get to here and you will notice that there is a woman in a similar position. And yeah, the same thing is going to happen. You'll stand there, you'll say, oh, sorry, can I just, and then she'll look at you and say, oh, sorry. And then she'll move out the way. And then you will go about your day and enjoy all the beautiful sights that Britain has to offer. Cool. So I hope you enjoyed that demonstration. And the point is, we like to say sorry, like even when we don't need to. If you don't believe me, I will set you this challenge, right? Go to a busy supermarket or a cafe or a shop or a pub, maybe not a pub, and just walk around, observe people, listen to them, get involved. Count the number of needless apologies you hear, and then look me in the eyes and tell me that we aren't polite. You can't do it. You can't do it. I know you can't. It's fine. Don't worry. You don't actually have to do all this, by the way. I don't want to come across as some sort of mad, polite tyrant who's forcing good manners upon the world, but this is just honestly how it actually is in the UK, so it could be useful for you to know this. And this is for most people anyway. We don't mess around when it comes to manners, and we still say these things even if we don't really mean it, Most people probably don't. I definitely don't. Just joking, of course. Right, that hilarious and exceptionally delivered joke has brought us perfectly onto our next topic. dry/British humour, and I've included a little meme here. You can pause the video if you want to have a bit of a chuckle. Anyway, if you've made it this far, you have probably laughed a lot. And if you haven't, then you probably just misheard all of my funny jokes and should consider checking out an audiologist during your trip to the UK. By the way, an audiologist is someone who checks your ears, so that's why that joke was funny. So what is this exceptional style of humour that we have in the UK? Well, it's called dry humour or British humour. And what is dry humour, I hear you ask? I didn't know either, actually, so I had to Google it. And apparently, dry humour is pretty much when you tell a joke in a subtle way with a straight face. So when someone tells you a joke, but you're not 100% sure that it was a joke because they are saying it with such a stern, emotionless face, that just might be dry humour. Or of course, maybe it was just a really bad joke, which, is something I would not know about. I only tell hilarious jokes, obviously. So I guess like 90% of my jokes are dry jokes, we'll call them that. And the reason I think it's so popular here is because, well, this style of humour perfectly suits our personalities. British people do most things with a straight face, so why should being absolutely hilarious be any exception? So what other jokes do we have? Well, apart from all the tea and bottled or water, British humour is also sarcastic, kind of ironic, a bit silly, and yeah, pretty funny too. So I've included a couple innocent, wholesome British jokes here. Well, I don't know if these are British. I think they are though. All right, so we have a man here and a woman in Scotland, and he's saying, "I never know which restroom to use in Scotland." And the joke here is that Scottish people wear kilts, and I guess the silhouette of a Scottish man wearing a kilt would look the same as a woman wearing a skirt. So there's a little bit of confusion going on here, guys. Hope he picks the right one. And this one is a photo of a centipede, and he's washing his hands. And of course, centipedes, they have many hands. So he's thinking, oh God, this is going to take forever. Yeah. So those are two funny jokes. And you know what they say, guys. If you need to explain a joke, it means that it's really funny. Okay, for this next section, I wanted to talk about food because that is, of course, very important. So I'll be telling you what traditional food in the UK is actually like, and also, more importantly, what people in the UK actually eat. Because a lot of the time, it isn't British food. For some unknown reason. Traditional UK food that we actually eat. So first off, we have an absolute classic, fish and chips. And you can see why this is a classic. I mean, look how delicious this looks. We have these perfectly fried chips. We have this golden slab of fish covered in a crispy batter. This is probably cod, but you can also get haddock and probably some other types of fish as well. The lemon wedges for garnishing. This is tartar sauce, which is a type of mayonnaise that's got like capers in and some other things, and it goes perfectly with fish. And this right here is a massive dollop of wasabi. I'm joking, obviously it's not wasabi. We can't handle that spice. But these are mushy peas. Yeah, and that's when you get a load of peas and you mush them into a paste, and it actually tastes good, I promise. But yeah, anyway, fish and chips. So tastes good, fills you up, and it's comforting. However, it is quite unhealthy and it can make you very tired afterwards. This can be a good thing, can also be a bad thing. It depends what your plans are after this meal. If you decide you want to go to sleep, then perfect. This is like a delicious, natural sleeping pill. However, if after this you plan on going to your friend's 21st birthday party, you might be feeling a bit tired. So my advice would be to wash this down with about 4 to 5 pints, and that should get you going again. Or, if you're a mature adult like I am, 4 to 5 espresso martinis. Right. Next up, full English breakfast. Now, I'm sure you guys know about this. We have baked beans, we have tomatoes, we have mushrooms, we have sausages, we have bacon, we have eggs, and we have this thing called black pudding. Now, black pudding gets a lot of stick, and I can kind of see why. I mean, it does look a bit rank. However, it is actually quite nice. It's an extremely rich and meaty flavour, and it's got the same texture as pate, so it's quite chewy. This definitely isn't suitable for everyone. I'd probably look up what it is before trying it, but don't turn your nose up at it just because you've heard someone else say that it's weird or disgusting. Right, so these taste very good. They fill you up. They're comforting. They're hard to mess up. You've got to be a pretty bad cook to mess up a full English, and that is coming from someone who is pretty bad at cooking, and even I fail to mess this up. And it's unique, and what I mean by that is if you're craving a full English, only a full English will do. Right, it's a bit unhealthy, if you couldn't tell, and not really suitable for everyone. Beans on toast, absolute classic dish, cheap, comforting, easy to make. Not for everyone, maybe not for dietary reasons. Some people just don't want to eat this for some reason. But honestly, don't knock this until you've tried it, because this is a classic dish for a reason. Right, the Sunday roast. A traditional Sunday roast includes some roast beef. You can also have roast chicken, but I think beef is more traditional. Some vegetables, so the peas, once again. Yorkshire puddings, which are just delicious. You got to try these. Roast potatoes. These particular ones don't look that well roasted, but I'm sure they're very nice. And yeah, this dish is delicious, comforting, very traditional, but the problem is you can only really get these on Sunday. And I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. I've had one Sunday roast in my entire life, I think, and that wasn't even out at a restaurant or a pub. I think it was around one of my friends' houses. Yeah, so I'm not that experienced with Sunday roast, but they do look nice. They do look good. Right, bangers and mash, sausage and potato, obviously. Yeah, I mean, you might be noticing a theme here. The majority of British dishes consist of potatoes, vegetables, normally peas, and some sort of meat and hot, salty sauce. Yeah, this is good though. Not really suitable for everyone, but it's nice. Cottage pie, shepherd's pie. This is minced beef with carrots and peas inside and a potatoey lid. Really good. However, can be surprisingly hard to find, I think they're mainly in pubs, to be honest. I haven't really had one of these. I haven't had cottage pie for a very long time. Jacket potatoes. Now, this is a truly elite dish. Healthy, extremely easy to make, very hard to mess up, unless you undercook it or overcook it. And, I mean, you just can't really complain with a jacket potato. It's so easy. Basically, you get a potato and you heat it up to the point where the inside is fluffy and the outside is crispy. Cut it open, put some butter in there, some beans, some cheese, let it all melt. You've got yourself a delicious meal right here. So good. Cons, not applicable. It's a perfect dish. Right, other pork pies, Scotch eggs, toad in the hole. This is basically like a sausage pie. Yeah, so this is like a pastry with a load of sausages in there, and I think you put that gravy on top. I had this once when I was like 10. I remember thinking it was really delicious, and I haven't had it since. It's got a cool name though, toad in the hole. Crumpets, I'm sure you're familiar with crumpets. Delicious. You heat these up, put a bit of butter on there. You can put honey or jam on there as well, although I don't really think it's necessary. Scones or scones, call them what you want. And this is kind of like a toasted bun with clotted cream and jam on either side. And these are really nice, and they go perfectly with a cup of tea as well. There is some debate about whether you should have the cream on the bottom or the jam on the bottom. So should you have the scone, cream and jam, or should you have the scone, jam and cream? And guess what, guys? It literally doesn't matter. Cool. Cauliflower cheese. So this is quite a unique dish, I think. I haven't seen this anywhere else. So you get a cauliflower, which is a vegetable. You chop it up and you completely just smother it in cheese, and it ends up tasting pretty nice. So I think it's cheddar cheese. I feel like mozzarella would be a bit overkill, and we do eat a lot of cheddar in the UK. Right, smoked salmon. I can't really claim this. I don't think this was invented in the UK. In fact, after a rigorous search online, 10 seconds on Google, apparently it was our friends over in Poland who invented smoked salmon. So yeah, as always, shout out my Poles. However, this is very commonly made in Scotland, so it's quite commonly enjoyed in the UK as well. Right, so now that I've shown you some of our dishes, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Do you think that the criticism of UK food is justified? Because honestly, at first I thought, yeah, it's kind of fair game. However, after seeing some of our incredible meals, I don't know. I think the one thing is that a lot of these dishes are pretty unhealthy. So that's like, I mean, that's not ideal, is it? But then again, if you think about most countries, their best dishes, like pizza, for example, isn't healthy, or like burgers aren't really healthy. Sushi is healthy, but yeah, I think, cut us some slack here, please. Right, so what do British people actually eat? Breakfast, lunch and dinner, because as mentioned, it's not always British foods. So for breakfast, cereal is very popular, and cereal is, well, I'm sure you guys know what cereal is, and we mix that with milk. Toast, very popular, a full English breakfast. You can also just get bacon and sausage sandwiches if you don't feel like the full English. Fruit, porridge, which consists of oats, milk and water. It's kind of like the big boy version of cereal. And of course, tea and coffee, which I will explain later. I personally have 6 scrambled eggs, a banana and a coffee. Okay. Lunch. So meal deals are very common. I have discussed meal deals before, but very briefly, you walk into a supermarket and you can choose a main, which can be a sandwich, a roll, some salad or some pasta. You choose a side, which can either be like a chocolate bar or another chocolate bar or some crisps or some other crisps. You can also get fruit as well, but no one really gets that. And a drink. So you can choose water if you feel like getting ripped off, or you can choose from a range of sugary, brightly coloured drinks. So, really healthy food. These are very common with pupils at school. Well, it's certainly what I used to have at school, and people who work in office jobs as well, certainly when I was working in an office job, I used to have a lot of meal deals because they are really easy to get and you can mix it up. There's quite a big variety of different options. So I don't blame anyone who has regular meal deals whatsoever. Right, pasta, pastries as well, so like sausage rolls, salads if you're feeling a bit healthy, and soup and bread if it's the winter months, so most of the time. And as mentioned, sushi is becoming increasingly popular in the UK. Right, so for dinner we have curries. Now, I've highlighted tikka masala here because apparently a very reliable source told me, my mate told me in a pub once, that the tikka masala was invented in the UK. So, apparently, according to him, he's called Luke. When traditional Indian curries were first introduced to the UK, we thought, wow, these are absolutely delicious. However, they're a bit spicy for us. We're not really used to this level of flavour in our food. So, is there any way we can keep this dish, but, tone it down by about 90%? And yeah, that's how we ended up with the tikka masala. Now, as mentioned, that information did come from an extremely reliable source, so it's definitely true. Right, after that, we have pasta is very popular, so spaghetti bolognese, lasagna, penne. You can see right here, they're the little tube things. Fish and chips, takeaways, so pizza, Chinese food, Indian food, burgers, stir-fries, stews and casseroles, chicken, jacket potatoes, salmon and potatoes, and steak, if you're rich. The point is, a lot of the food in the UK that we actually eat is not from the UK, right? We take a lot of food from other cultures as well. So please don't think that as soon as you step off the plane, you're going to be forced to eat beans on toast or fish pie for every meal. Unless you actually want to, in which case, respect. So, if you don't eat meat for whatever reason, you might be feeling a bit left out at this point, but don't worry. The UK has a massive vegan, vegetarian, halal scene. You can get meat-free versions of pretty much all the dishes we have just discussed. And this is a vegan full English. And as you can see, it looks just as delicious as the regular full English. I mean, look at that. Look at that delicious bacon and those sausages. And yeah, let's just put that to one side, shall we? Right, drinks. So we are briefly going to look at drinks. Obviously, we covered the alcoholic and nightlife scene in the last video. Link is in the description. And that includes beer, ale, wine, cider, and strong alcohol. So we got vodka, gin, whiskey, that type of thing, which you would typically mix with soft drinks. So Coke, lemonade, and tonic water. So pretty standard stuff. Now, let's look at the non-alcoholic options. The main ones are water, obviously, juice, soft fizzy drinks, so like Coke, Fanta, lemonade, squash. So we're pretty crazy about squash. Squash is basically a very strong concentrated juice that you mix with water. So you'd have about 80% water, 20% squash, and it just tastes like whatever flavor of squash you put in. So orange and apple and blackcurrant are the two most common flavors. And of course, tea and coffee. Okay. All right, you guys know what coffee is. We have that in the UK, and everyone says it's awful compared to whatever country they are from. Cool. Tea. We drink a lot of tea. Like, a lot of tea. Personally, when I'm in the UK, I tend to have about 6 cups a day, and we can push that to about 8 during the winter months. So, firstly, why do I drink so much? Well, it's not just the taste of the tea. It's not only just the fact that it's extremely comforting. It's also the novelty of being able to get up from your desk, go into the kitchen, put the kettle on, jump around the kitchen whilst the kettle is boiling, then make the tea, bring it back, and you've just got this warm, delicious drink in front of you. So I think it's, as mentioned, it's not just the taste, it's also the novelty of making it. Right, so how do you make tea? It's very simple. You boil a kettle, you put the tea bag in the mug, you put the boiling water in, you leave it for about 30 seconds, or if you're impatient like I am, you just squeeze it against the side of the mug till all the tea juices come out. You take the tea bag out, you put some milk in, you put some sugar in if you're a child, and voila, you have the perfect cup of tea. Topic 6, transportation in the UK. So, the transportation in the UK is something I have discussed before, and to put it bluntly, it's complete and utter shit. Well, it's not that bad. It's mainly the trains that I despise, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So we have trains, buses, taxis, cars, walking, the OG method, bikes, the underground tube in London, and trams, which are in Manchester, Edinburgh, and probably some other places as well. So let's start by looking at the positives of the UK trains, always look on the bright side of life. So, we have some nice looking stations. Yeah, I'll be the first to admit that. We've got a nice big roof here. It's very spacious. Yep, okay. Another positive is that you will get plenty of time to admire these lovely stations, as the trains are always delayed, and if you're really lucky, cancelled as well. Yeah. Yep, the trains in the UK are just abysmal. They are massively overpriced and never on time. They're not really untidy. It doesn't bother me that much. I don't think it's a pressing issue. It's mainly the lack of value for me. So fair enough if the trains were a bit cheaper and they were occasionally delayed or cancelled. You can understand that. It's just when you pay a premium price for something, you expect a premium service. And you just don't get that with the trains in the UK. And they're honestly bloody expensive. They really are. And they keep getting more expensive as well. I don't know why I despise the train so much. I think I've just gotten too many in my life. And then you go to another country and you get a train there as well. And it's just better in every single way. And it's like, really? England? Really? Anyway, if you are going to stay in the UK for a while and get some of these trains, I would recommend buying a rail card. It costs £30 and you save 30% on all trains. So an app I would recommend is Trainline. It's kind of like the standard app. And I think you can buy the rail card on the Trainline app. So you've got like a digital rail card. It lasts a year. So I don't know, work it out if you think you'll save money from it. Depends how long you're here, I guess, and how many trains you plan on getting. Right, buses. I don't have a huge amount of experience with buses, but I think they are quite reasonably priced and fairly reliable. But the only problem is that they only really go around the city. So they're quite localized. And this means that you can't really use them to get from one side or one part of the UK to another. Right, so just bear that in mind. Taxis and Ubers. So Uber is available in the major cities and the taxis are available pretty much everywhere. And both of these are pretty reliable. Cars. So we drive on the left-hand side of the road with the steering wheel on the right. And we tend to drive manual cars as well. So we actually use these gears here. So that could be quite different to what you're used to. So yeah, have fun with that. Right, the underground, the London Tube. Honestly, I think this is probably one of the best forms of transport in the UK, in my opinion. Seriously. I know, right, listen, they can be hot. There's no air conditioning. They can be very cramped. There's no Wi-Fi. There isn't normally any signal. They can be a bit unpleasant in general, and they do occasionally just randomly stop in between the two stations, and you're all just sat there in silence and darkness with no indication of how long you're going to be there for. But other than that, they're normally all right. They're fast, they're pretty reliable, and they come pretty often. So if you miss one, you should only have to wait, between 6 to 8 to 15 minutes for the next one. It's not too bad. So yeah, I think as far as transport goes in the UK, it isn't a bad option. Of course, they are just in London, but realistically, if you are visiting the UK, you're probably going to spend a bit of time in London, so this shouldn't be an issue. Anyway, the tube map can be a little bit confusing, and unless you are someone who was born and raised in London and have these bed sheets, then you probably aren't going to know what to do. Not to worry, as you can just download an app for this. So I used to use one called Tube Map. I'm sure there are many other options. Just type in London Tube to the App Store. And you shouldn't need to pay for this, guys. I meant the app, not the tube. Although you can avoid paying for this. You just have to be able to jump over the barriers. So it just depends how athletic you are, really. Right, tram. So I've got a tram once before in my life. It was in Manchester, and yeah, it was all right. So yeah, trams are all right, I think. Bikes, you're probably not going to buy a bike when you're here, but you can rent bikes in most cities, and yeah, they are pretty fun. A few more things. On the tube and on the train, we tend not to speak too loudly. So on the train, we do have quiet carriages. So in that area, you definitely won't be speaking too loudly. And on the tube, sometimes you hear people talking, but for the majority of the time, it is normally pretty quiet, especially in the mornings. That is unless you are an American tourist, of course, in which case you might be saying something like, "Hey, excuse me, bro, you know where Buckingham Palace is? Hey, man, am I going the right way to Buckingham Palace?" But, you probably want to avoid doing that. It's just something to bear in mind, just get a feel for the vibe. If everyone else is being quiet, then maybe, follow suit. Or not, you can do what you want. I don't really care, to be honest. You can also pay for pretty much all of these methods of transport with your card when you get there. However, with trains, you have to buy a ticket before you board, else they will give you a fine. Or alternatively, you can always just hide in the toilet when the ticket guy comes. Not that I've ever done that before. Topic 7, slang and expressions. So I wanted to quickly go over some of the slang and expressions. This will be quick because I'm just going to be covering the ones that you might actually need to know. So let's start with the common everyday expressions. We have cheers, which means thank you or goodbye. We have mate, which means friend. And this isn't really just used for friends. It's not exclusively for friends. It's used for everyone. So shopkeepers or taxi drivers or bus drivers or train drivers. A lot of drivers. I get this question quite often. Can I say this if I am a girl? Of course you can. Of course you can. However, this is mainly directed towards men. So you can say it if you're a girl and you can say it to other women. Of course you can. However, I don't know. This just tends to be something that men say to other men. I'm not too sure why, but by all means, you do you. There isn't really a female equivalent to this, to be honest. So if you were talking to a girl, well, in my experience, I'd say something like, "Hi, excuse me. I'm sorry to bother you, but sorry, I'm a bit nervous. I saw you across the road, and I'm so sorry. But if you're talking to a guy, you'd be like, "You're right, mate. Yeah, you watched the footy last night. Yeah, Rashford. Oh, bloody Rashford, mate. Yeah. All right, mate. See you later. Yeah, nice one, mate. All right, mate. Yeah." Right. So we have excuse me. This is used when you want to start a conversation, or order something, or get past someone. Basically, if you want to get someone's attention, you'll say, "Excuse me." We have gutted, which means disappointed. Knackered means tired. Cheeky means a little bit naughty. Taking the piss, if you're taking the piss out of someone, you are making fun of them. If you are pissed, you are drunk. If you are pissed off, you are angry or annoyed. A cuppa is a cup of tea. If something is dodgy, it means it's suspicious and not to be trusted. I swear means I'm sure that, or I promise. So I swear that I bought a ticket, officer. I just, I think I left it in my other trousers. I'm so sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, there are more, but these are the only ones that you actually need to know. Then we have the young guy expression. So we have peng and leng, which means good or good looking. We have bear, that means a lot of something. We have dead and peak, which means not very good. And we have safe and sound, which means good. Now, these two are pretty commonly used, especially sound. You will hear this quite a lot, especially if you go up north. Okay, there are more, but these are the only ones that you actually need to know. And you probably don't need to know these, but listen, they aren't uncommon. You just probably won't use these, but at least you will understand someone if they use these on you. You know, you'll know what they're talking about most of the time anyway. Topic 8, shops. So in this section, I'll be telling you everything you need to know about the shops in the UK. We're going to break this down into the supermarkets, so the food shops, the clothes shops, and the pharmacies. Right. Supermarkets. These are an essential part of the UK, and honestly, I think that we have pretty good supermarkets here. Not only are these used for the weekly food shops, but we also have mini versions of these shops all around the country, which are used for everyday purchases. So this is where you get your meal deals from. So we've got the big version and the smaller version. Now we kind of have these instead of convenience stores. So this is our equivalent to like 7-Eleven and GS25. I think that's one. And we do have convenience stores as well, but we call these corner shops, and they aren't really as common as these mini supermarkets. Yeah. Right, so we have 10 main supermarkets in the UK. Don't worry, I'm not going to spend too long talking about each one. I'm just going to give you a quick overview. So let's start with the high-end shops, the baller shops, the designer shops. These are for the rich people, the footballers, the politicians, the royal family. And these include shops such as Waitrose, Booths, and Marks and Spencer's. Now, these do have the best quality products, but they are a bit expensive. I mean, look at that. Looks absolutely beautiful. It's, stunning. Right. The mid-range shops. So we have Sainsbury's, Co-op, Tesco, Asda, and Morrison's. Now, these are the everyday supermarkets. The best here is definitely Tesco. They are everywhere. They have the best meal deals. And in my opinion, I think they are just the best value for money. So, shout out Tesco. There was a bit of a scandal a few years ago where they were selling beef burgers, but it wasn't actually beef. It was horse meat. But other than that, they're normally pretty good. I don't think they've done that since. Right, the essentials. Last but definitely not least, we have Lidl and Aldi. So 2 German supermarkets. These definitely just aren't in the UK. I know these are everywhere. But they're basically clones of each other. They're cheap and honestly pretty good quality, like insane value for money. The problem is they only have big stores though, and they tend to be in the middle of nowhere. And another thing about Aldi and Lidl is that they seem to have the best lawyers in the world because they're able to constantly, completely rip off genuine products and get away with it somehow. I mean, I can give you an example here. So we have the genuine products on the left, the genuine branded items, so shredded wheat. And then we have the Aldi version, wheat shreds. We have Nutella and we have Natoka. We have mini eggs and we have mini chocolate eggs. And it's not just the names, like look how similar the branding is and the packaging. So I am not too sure how they get away with this, but respect. Right. After that, we have the clothes shop. So we have the standard high street shops. So Zara, H&M, Uniqlo, my favorite. We have the designer department stores. So Flannel, Selfridges, Harrods. If you are looking to spend a lot of money on clothes, then London is probably one of the best places in the world to do that. This is a Selfridges store. Look at this. This is a clothes shop. Absolutely massive. And this is like in the center of London as well. It's mental. And we do have a few cool independent stores as well. So pharmacies, Boots. Boots is the only pharmacy you need to go to. It's the best one. Yeah. Topic 9, entertainment. Okay, so now that you are fed, clothed, and transported, you might be thinking, so now what? Apart from making funny and informative YouTube videos, what do British people actually do? Well, besides from making funny and informative YouTube videos, British people do a wide range of different activities. Let's start with the indoor activities. So we have pubs, obviously, we have restaurants, we have cafes, we have cinemas, we have watching sports. This tends to be football and it tends to be in a pub as well. Although you can actually go out to the stadium and watch the football live as well. So I guess that would count as a outdoor activity. So we'll talk about that later. You can visit museums and art galleries. You can go shopping. You can go to the theatre. You can play pool, normally in a pub. You can go rock climbing. You can go to the gym. You can watch TV, sometimes in a pub, sometimes at home. And you can game as well. Gaming is pretty big here, as it is pretty much everywhere in the world. Right, outdoor activities. So we have beer gardens, which are pubs, but outside. We have walking and hiking. In fairness, this is definitely one of the best things to do in the UK. We have a lot of beautiful scenery and greenery here. You can play sports. So this would normally be football, tennis, or go for a run. I know running isn't really a sport, but exercise, whatever. We do also play rugby and cricket here, but it isn't really as casual. So, with football, you can just get a ball and a few mates and just have a kick about. Like, it's very low effort to set up. The same with tennis, really. Just go to a tennis court. They can lend you everything you need. Whereas with rugby and cricket, it's a bit more effort and it's a bit less chill to play. So you're not really going to casually invite some of your friends around for like a relaxed game of rugby where you're all just running into each other and tackling each other. It's a bit less chill. We have picnics and public drinking. These two definitely go hand in hand. We have barbecues, which once again goes hand in hand with public drinking and I guess picnics as well. We have swimming in the sea, which would normally be at the beach. Obviously, I don't know why I had to specify that. And sunbathing is also very common here. Well, it's not common because we don't really get much sun, but when we do get sun, it becomes extremely common. And that will happen anywhere, normally at the beach or in a park, but you will also see people just walking around the town or the city with their top off, which is a bit crazy. But yeah, it's part of the culture. Nice. Topic 10, special events and holidays. So, in my personal experience, there aren't really that many special events in the UK, so I will just name the main contenders. Of course, we have Christmas, which is celebrated by pretty much everyone regardless of religious beliefs, and we're not going to talk too much about that as we aren't even close. Wait a few months and I will be on it. We then have Christmas, which is celebrated by pretty much everyone regardless of religious beliefs, and this involves eating a lot of chocolate. So we have these things called Easter eggs, which are chocolate eggs wrapped in colourful tinfoil, and we have egg hunts or Easter egg hunts, which normally take place in a garden or a park in a field. And basically someone hides these mini Easter eggs in the park, so behind some flowers or in a bush or something like that. And it is your job as the contender to go and find these Easter eggs. This is normally for kids, by the way. So you look around, you find one, you eat that, which gives you the energy to go and find another one. And you eat that, which gives you the energy to go and find the next one, and so on and so on and so on, until you have found all of them and you are high on sugar and low on energy and self-worth. All right, we then have Bonfire Night or Guy Fawkes Night, which tends to happen on the 5th of November. This is an interesting one and it is widely celebrated. Well, I know it's celebrated in England, I think in Scotland and Wales as well, and I think in certain parts of Northern Ireland. And basically this event originates from the year 1605, where some geezer called Guy Fawkes tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament, got close but failed. And we celebrate the fact he didn't blow it up by lighting a massive bonfire and loads of fireworks for some reason. So this is what you can expect to see on Bonfire Night, and this is Guy Fawkes being a naughty boy and getting caught. Right, Halloween, we all know Halloween. On the 31st of October, we celebrate something rather spooky called Halloween. I know this is pretty universal. So in the UK, celebrations involve dressing up and getting drunk, if you are an adult, or dressing up and knocking on strangers' doors and asking them for food, if you are a child. Nice. Final topic, practical tips. Okay, so don't worry, we are nearly done, guys. And in this final section, I just wanted to give you some practical advice for when you do visit the UK. That is if you are still planning on visiting here after watching this video. Firstly, you don't really need cash. You can pretty much pay for everything by card. And in fact, some places don't actually take cash anymore. We use these plugs, so you may need to buy a converter, or if you're coming from Malaysia, you're all good, mate. I know you guys use these plugs as well. Nice. So, SIM cards. I would recommend getting a Smarty SIM card. It's data only. It's £20 a month. Unlimited data, so no contracts. I'm not sponsored by them. I don't have an affiliate link, so you can find it yourself, mate. Just type in smarty.co.uk and order one. We do have Wi-Fi in most places in the major cities, so like most cafes will have Wi-Fi. However, I feel like it isn't as accessible as it is in other countries, so it's not really on every corner, which is why it might be useful to get a SIM card with data on it. The weather. Come on, we can't make it through a full British education video without discussing the weather. So, didn't know if you guys knew this, but the weather in the UK is a little bit unpredictable, to say the least. So, I would advise bringing a coat, some rain boots or some wellies, some shorts, some sun cream, some sunglasses, some gloves, a parka jacket, a life vest, and a hat. And that should just about cover all bases. Right guys, and there we have it, the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I know this is probably going to be quite a long video, so I do massively appreciate it if you have made it this far. As mentioned, all of the useful words and expressions that popped up on the screen will be explained in a free PDF. The link is in the top comment and you don't need to sign up to anything if you don't want to. All I ask in return is that if you did enjoy today's video, I don't know, why not consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and maybe even commenting down below. It all makes a massive difference. If you are listening on Spotify, why not give us a cheeky 5-star review as well. As mentioned, I do also teach private one-to-one and group lessons. All of the information is available on my website. So we have some group classes this Sunday, and the one-to-one lessons are whenever suits you. So I can be very flexible with those. Why not sign up to my newsletter as well? As mentioned at the start, you literally get an exclusive video sent right to your inbox as soon as you sign up, and the link is in the top comment. If you would like to stay in touch, I would recommend following my Instagram, which is BritishEducation_, or my Spotify, where all my videos are posted and you can listen on the go. That is just British Education. Once again, all of the links will be in the top comment. As mentioned, I post new videos every Friday, so hopefully I will see you there. Cheers. Nice.